Welcome into the Bears Squad Show. I'm Joe George, post-game host, and Ben Johnson becomes the third coach in Chicago Bears history to get 10 wins in his first season.
I'm Adam Sager. The Bears offense was running on all cylinders today. I don't know what more you can ask for from this offense.
And I'm Lauren Cox from Locked On Bears. The defense back to its old ways with plenty of sacks, plenty of turnovers, and really shutting down Shedeur and the Browns.
Bear down, Chicago. It's the Bears Squad. Everything Chicago Bears, every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Windy City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From Soldier Field to the next great chapter, the Bears Squad Show starts now.
Welcome into the Bears Squad Show here on the Locked On Bears YouTube and audio channels. Joe George, Adam Sager, and Lauren Cox here with you for the next hour as we recap the Bears' 31-3 win over the Cleveland Browns, their 10th win of the season, surpassing, I think, everyone's officially all of our expectations from before the season. Now that they've got 10 wins, they help their playoff chances as they continue to get wins and get back into the win column. We'll talk about the offense, the defense, the special teams, all the good things that we saw in this game, and we'll nitpick a little bit maybe about some end of half decisions as well. But Lauren, the Bears dominate this one. I think if you just the way this game played out, it's pretty much as scripted as you have wanted to see, right? Of what this Bears game was.
Yeah, and it was really like, I don't want to say the first like 4-quarter dominant game, but like it's kind of just getting back to that feeling of like from the beginning, you're playing like the better team. I mean, I know like first try, not literally the first drive, but for the majority of the full 4 quarters, like they were in control. You never really let Cleveland back in. They had moments here or there, but it was never like that feeling of, Browns are mounting a comeback, or the lead is starting to slip away from Chicago. Like this was thorough, and it feels like you can check every box across the board. Not that it was perfect, like there aren't still things you can improve on, but just like, yep, threw the ball well, good completion percentage, good yards per hit, good pass rush, good turnovers. Like it's got everything you wanted from a performance, and you're not playing down to a bad team like the Cleveland Browns. You're just keeping your foot on their neck and really taking them out.
Yeah, I mean, this was the first week, the first game of this season that from start to finish, I was never worried. I was never on the edge of my seat saying like, oh, how are they going to let them back in? Or I never thought the Cleveland Browns could get back in this game. Once it got to 14-0, I didn't care about going for it on that fourth down from around midfield in the third quarter. Maybe they could cut it to 14. I never felt any bit of pressure for this Bears team today. They so overmatched the Cleveland Browns that, I mean, they never stood a chance today.
Like, yeah, even when they had like a couple of those deep bombs that Shedeur Sanders completed, it was like, we'll stop them. Okay, you got your one.
Good for you, Shedeur. Like that's what it felt like. Like you're talking to a child. Like, oh, congrats, you hit one. Nice.
Yeah, he hits one, and then he makes his best throw of the day, and Jerry Jeudy hands it to Jaylon Johnson for an interception. So it's like, you're right. Everything the Bears were doing in this game just worked. Like Kyle Monangai, not a big day, but Swift ran the ball incredibly well. I think that was Caleb's best half of football we've seen this year, that first half. I mean, when you factor in the drops, the Zacchaeus slip, but he was accurate. He was on time. He was making big throws. I thought Caleb Williams was essentially perfect in the first half. And we've talked a lot about his accuracy and ball placement. And that to me stood out in a big way. And, it is Cleveland, but it does matter. Like it's Bears weather. It's 2 degrees outside or whatever it is in Chicago right now. And Caleb Williams, it doesn't bother him. It doesn't bother the Ben Johnson offense. I think that's a huge win also within this game.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm also trying to not put too much stock in it. Like it's important that we saw it and checked the box, but not to say like, oh, then he's going to do the exact same thing next week against Green Bay. Like it, and I think both of these things can be true. Like we can acknowledge, like without diminishing, that this mattered and was good performance and more difficult than the team's records would suggest. I mean, I know they kept referring to the Browns being second in yards allowed this season and defensively. Like they're 17th in points, so they're not like the number 2 defense. I think they called them a couple of times. Like that's not necessarily accurate, but it's not the 31st ranked defense either. Like this was not a bad Cleveland Browns defense, but it was a worse Cleveland Browns defense than what the Bears are going to be facing with the Packers and the 49ers and probably the Lions by week 18.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a solid defense. I thought they had a really good game plan for Myles Garrett for the most part. Yeah, he's going to do what he does a couple times a game, and he got a sack and a half today. But overall, he made the one nice play down in the red zone to stop Monangai on that, and where they tried the little end around type handoff to Colston Loveland. Then the next play, he shut that down. So, I mean, he played fine, but it wasn't like, oh my God, like the Max Crosby game. It wasn't like he is wrecking this game for the Bears offense. That never felt like that was going on. And I mean, even the first sack, it was just Caleb holding the ball a little too long. And I think he was just being safe with it, not throwing it away, not giving yourself a grounding or anything like that, knowing we're up 14-0. We can go up 17-0. Now, yes, Santos missed the kick, but I thought that was Caleb just taking care of the ball and it kind of gave Myles Garrett a sack there. It wasn't like Myles Garrett just beat Trapillo off the jump and just sacked Caleb Williams immediately. So I thought overall the offensive game plan was really, really good today from Ben Johnson and company.
Yeah, it's just one of those that you expect this to be the result, the way the Bears have played this year. And there's been a lot of these games so far to where your expectations, I think they haven't matched. They've won a lot of games, obviously, but this game, it just everything about it. Lauren, I want you to expand on that a little bit more, how you thought they handled, Myles Garrett and how Ozzie did on the first watch of this game.
Yeah, I mean, it was, as expected, a very right-handed running game. They just ran away from him quite a bit. And sometimes a running back still has to cut back into the left side because, you can't just run into a pile of defenders there. So, like, he found his way to have, have impacts here and there. But it felt like there were very few true one-on-one pass blocking plays for Trapillo versus Garrett. Every time, even if it was just a running back coming out to that side and giving him a little chicken wing on the way out, or it was a lot of play action and a lot of rolls to the right. And I don't remember any rolls to the left off the top of my head. I thought there might have been one or two. Like it was very clearly designed, and they had a lot of, like, especially in the running game, like cut back blocks. It was Cole Kmet working back across the floor. It was a fullback working back across the floor and just throwing a body at his knees and saying, hey, we're just going to take you out of the play in whatever way we can, because the rest of that Browns defense was not good enough to, at least in the front seven, to overcome that to make up for, everything happening away from Garrett.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought, I don't know about you guys, but at that point in the second quarter where there's kind of a lull on offense, it felt like Ben Johnson was almost already in the mode of, okay, we're up 2 touchdowns. We don't think they're going to score at all in this game. We're going to work on the passing game a little bit in some different concepts. And it was working, and then sometimes it didn't. You could tell it was a little disjointed, but it felt like Ben Johnson was working on stuff in the middle of that second quarter. And then halftime came and they hadn't scored again. And then I think he was like, okay, let's do what we do. And they went out and scored 17 more points in the second half. So it was good to see.
Yeah, I mean, the one you mentioned there, Adam, earlier about the going for it on fourth down, we'll get into a little bit more later, but like it does feel like in the past, like maybe that's where things unravel, a little bit. But it's a bad team in the Cleveland Browns, a young quarterback who has some old, I would say rookie Caleb Williams in him, in Shedeur Sanders, like holding on to the ball just a little too long a couple times, but overall, I thought the defensive line was doing what they should have done as well. Look, this is a unit for the Browns that's banged up. Old friend Tevin Jenkins left the game at one point for the Browns. But the defensive line, Lauren, was really dominant throughout this one as well.
I wish there would have been a way to bet on Tevin Jenkins leaving the game with an injury. We would have cleaned. I mean, I'm sure the odds wouldn't have been great, but like that would have been free money.
I would have put my life on it.
Yeah, but I think, like we talk about with the offense and like not wanting to get carried away with it, like that's especially true for the defensive line. Like I think the things the offense did are more replicable and feel more like, oh yeah, that's some real good progress that they can build off of. But like defensive line, I mean, there are 4 backups out there for the Cleveland Browns, and even their starters have not been particularly great this season. Like I'm really not taking a lot of stock in. Like I'm glad they finished at the quarterback, but like 2 or 3 of those is Shedeur holding onto the ball too long, because it's good coverage downfield, and I'll give them credit for covering Jerry Jeudy and some good tight ends for Cleveland for sure. But like I didn't come away feeling like, wow, the Bears pass rush is all of a sudden way better than I thought it was. It was like, oh, the Browns are bad, and I guess besides the Joe Tryon revenge game, like nothing else was all that surprising.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of sad late in that game. Grady Jarrett gets home, gets a sack, kind of on a broken play type sack. And the broadcast says, and that's his first sack of the year. And I'm just like, man, you gave Grady Jarrett all that money, and that's his first sack. And that's what he is. He is a pass rushing defensive tackle. Kind of sad to hear that. But yeah, I thought Dennis Allen was kind of in his bag against a rookie quarterback. You could tell, especially early in the game, he had them and had Shedeur Sanders in hell because he could not figure out where it was coming from, the offensive line. He couldn't point out early pre-snap, hey, slide this way because this guy's coming. Dennis Allen was working his magic against a rookie quarterback today. And yes, it will be a lot tougher next week against a much better Packers offensive line and Jordan Love, who's seen a lot of this as he's, more of a veteran now. So good to see the defense do that, but now show me against the non-rookie quarterback next week against the Packers, who just scored 28 on you, and go take this division next Saturday.
Yeah, and who knows, by the time, people are listening to this, Bears might be back in first place or not. They could still be in 7th place.
The Packers literally just kicked off. So
so it's who knows, but as we're live here doing the show of what it will look like when Saturday rolls around. It's a short week, and before we really get into the offense, the only thing I just want to hit on this at the beginning, kind of like we did last week. Unfortunately, last week it's Kyler Gordon not being active for the game, and now he's on injured reserve. Today we get a surprise of Rome Odunze's active, and then he's inactive before the game. Lauren, we're not doctors, but disappointing to say the least before the game even kicks off that you're without Rome Odunze for this one.
Yeah, this feels like kind of a last straw thing for me, where it's like, for a while there, it's, luck is a big part of injuries. But when you have back-to-back weeks of a player who's good enough to go on Saturday and then does something during warm-ups, like, can it just be bad luck that you have players injured during warm-ups in 2 straight games when you've also had, we talked on last week's post-game show about, Jaylon Johnson come back from injury and then hurt again and then not 100% out there, and Edwards back and forth, and you got 3 practice squad guys who are on injured reserve that never played regular season snaps but got hurt so bad at practice that they're on injured reserve, or backup offensive linemen going on injured reserve. Like, at some point it becomes more than just like, players get hurt playing football. They absolutely do. It's the players getting hurt not playing football that I'm concerned about.
Yeah, this training staff is not doing anything to help themselves these last couple weeks and all season, like the way we've talked about it with guys coming back and probably too soon, or that you misjudge what maybe should be an IR stint and you keep them active, and that hurts you when you're trying to do inactives and everything. So they haven't had a good year this year when it comes to the training staff, and that's something we'll definitely see if they change come the off season and get either a new head trainer or replace the whole staff or do whatever they're going to do with it.
Yeah, it's frustrating to say the least to see all these guys. To think you're going to get Rome back again and then to not have them. And guys stepped up in a big way. And we'll take our first break here and we'll discuss what we saw from Luther Burden, Loveland, Kmet, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, and this entire offense as the Bears get a dominant 31-3 victory over the Cleveland Browns. We'll get to all of that next year on the Bears Squad Show. Today's episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. Holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. If you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap. It's a way to share memories. Because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. Packaging comes gift ready with no price tag, no wrapping needed, which is a huge win. It's a holiday gift that actually gets used, not forgotten in a drawer. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames named #1 by Wirecutter by using promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code LOCKEDON. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's get into the offense and what we saw from them today. It's fair, again, what we've mentioned, the Browns defense, not a lot of points or not a lot of yards given up on the season, but as Lauren mentioned, 17th in points on the season. You score 31 on them today. You get some help from your defense, which we'll talk about, special teams. We'll get into that as well. But we'll start with the running game here. DeAndre Swift, before the season, I was questioning his role on this roster. We saw Ben Johnson move off of him as soon as he could in Detroit. Early season, it's a struggle. But this turnaround from DeAndre Swift, I think specifically, but the running game as a whole has been spectacular. And that 17-yard touchdown run, I think, really shows like the running back he has turned into for the Chicago Bears, just breaking multiple tackles, finding the open hole. So, Lauren, what did you see from Swift and the run game today?
Yeah, that touchdown run in particular was like the I'm bigger and better than you. You're whipping it out and putting on the table type of run from DeAndre Swift. Like he had that one and that Caleb Williams touchdown to DJ Moore that I'm sure we'll talk about, in the back of the end zone a little bit later on. Like those were the two, like I'm putting it all out there because I'm better than you and what are you going to do about it type of plays that just those are such killers to just demoralize a defense. And I think the Swift one, like that felt a little bit like a Browns defense that was already starting to quit a little bit. So there were a lot of arm tackles there, not a lot of full effort intensity to bring him down. But Swift hasn't even always been that running back that's gonna get through those. Like I wouldn't say he goes down easily, but like Kyle Monangai bounces off those. Swift maybe goes down from one of those, but the fact that he's still churning and pushing through in the cold weather and firing off, like it was really, really well done from him. I mean, run blocking from the offensive line was really solid, but again, to like read that, see the vision. I mean, even his first touchdown, right, where he bounces it to the outside, when they showed you the replay from the end zone angle, like it's not super obvious that that's where the run needs to go, but he sees the linebacker kind of get sucked inside and has the speed to get to the outside. Like this was like quintessential everything you're looking for from DeAndre Swift, and that too feels like it's meaningful even against a bad Browns team, because at least the Browns have a little bit more of a strength in the front seven and have been a good run defense at times this season, but certainly not today.
Yeah, this offensive line just keeps getting better in the run game. It feels like, they're playing together. You get those three have played every snap of the season or most of the snaps of the season together. So you really like to see it continue to get better, and they can keep building on it and get it even better. And that right side of Dahlman, Jackson, and Wright are just killing it so far this year. And you feel good when you run to that side. You're picking up at least three. It feels like every single time. And both guys, Monangai didn't have his full power. I wonder how much his little injury that he dealt with throughout the week, he was questionable at one point, how much that affected him. But DeAndre Swift stepped in, and I mean, he was great today running hard. Monangai had a couple drops on screens, so it wasn't his best day, but I'll just, kind of give him credit of, okay, maybe you're dealing with a little something. You're not just quite right as you coming into this game. And hopefully he was able to come out of it no worse for wear. He can get the week of rest leading into the Saturday night game. And, but yeah, the run game continues to be what drives this offense in the right way.
Yeah, 142 rushing yards on the day, 98 of those from Swift, his 2 rushing touchdowns. Adam, I'll throw it back to you here first. Every week, not every week, but it feels like oftentimes this season we've been having discussions about Ben Johnson going away from the running game at inopportune times. So I personally didn't really feel that today, because I felt like when they went away from it, the passing game was working and it made sense to why they went away with it. So, Sager, what'd you think of Ben Johnson's use of the run game and when he was using it?
Yeah, I thought today was much better than we've seen in the past. Like I mentioned there in the second quarter, it felt, and I'd have to go back and look play by play, but it felt like maybe he was trying to do things with the passing game. I guess the one play I wish he would have used it was that 3rd and 1 late in the second quarter there, not just hand the ball. Hopefully you can pick up a yard, keep that drive going. Instead, you try the deep play that doesn't connect, and then you give the ball right back to the Browns. Now they gave it back to you by doing the same thing, so it almost worked out, and I think we'll talk about that at some point, the end of half decision making. But I mean, overall, I thought his game plan, his play calling was pretty good. And he even tried the Loveland handoff down the line that didn't work because Cole Kmet and Zacchaeus weren't on the same page of who they were going to block. But I thought Ben Johnson's running game was good today. Yeah,
likewise. I mean, that same stretch was the one that I was thinking of too, the 3rd one shot to Zacchaeus there. But like, I also feel like he's got the confidence in a game like this to say, yeah, hey, we'll be able to run the ball next drive whenever we want. Like, I'll call the play action here. And certainly he's not always dialing it up saying, hey, Caleb, I want you to throw the deep ball. That there's other routes in that could have been a lot shorter and people wouldn't think it's not like Ben Johnson is necessarily specifically saying throw the bomb here. Like, he could have thrown that short on the play or whatever. But like, overall, they kept coming back to it consistently. And I like the way that Ben started the game. Like, I know they went 3 and out, but there was a false start and then a drop pass on there. But like, it was a much better mix of like run and pass, where like they got Caleb some play action and moving a little bit early, but then they'd mix in some runs. So it wasn't like last week where it was like 5 throws in succession right away trying to get him going. But it was like you get some passes in there, but it just was a more balanced approach early on that I think helped build that confidence without. Like, they didn't just go straight running game and not let Caleb get some throws in, but also not just all throwing the ball to try and get that rhythm, but hey, let's dabble in a little bit of both here and get that feeling of like, oh yeah, we can move the ball mostly at will against this Browns offense if we stop having false starts, stop dropping the passes or slipping on the middle of the field.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second because they can't. But Lauren, you mentioned the play. We got to talk about it. That touchdown pass to DJ Moore. I don't know, Caleb, like, he just off his back foot, throws it up there. DJ Moore makes an incredible catch. It was a great throw, all of it. That play from Caleb was spectacular in this game. And he made a lot of really good throws, but Lauren, that play was incredible.
Yeah, I really need to go back and watch the all 22 of that throw because I feel like it was a bad decision, right? Like it feels too demeaning to say was it lucky? I mean, was he lucky that wasn't intercepted? Like, I think it's a great catch by DJ Moore. It's great by Caleb to put it in that spot where Moore has a shot at it. But I think the reason it's a touchdown is because the DB misplayed it in the air more so than did Caleb put it in a spot where no DB could get to it, or did the DB take a really bad, really late jump at it? That's what I need to see the all 22 replay to get a sense of like how much of that was kind of lucky and how much of that was like no pinpoint accuracy where no one else had a shot at it but DJ Moore.
I was sitting watching the game when he made that throw, and my son, he's 10, he plays quarterback. I mean, he was immediately like, wow, and I looked at him, I'm like, don't you ever throw that ball. That ball is not what you can do. There's only maybe 2 people in the world that can make that throw. And he made it. It worked. I hope it doesn't come back and bite them later in the season, trying the same thing. Today, incredible play. Next time, maybe not make the throw, or if it's a close game against a much better opponent or in the playoffs, those plays probably don't work. So highlight play, we'll get to see it on ESPN and all the football shows. But yeah, that's a dangerous throw.
I think the most important part of that throw for me is like that feels like a DJ Moore buy-in throw, right? Like it's the throw that will have DJ Moore as invested as possible in believing in being a part of this offense and wanting to block and wanting to. I mean, I know like it's not that hasn't been there for him, but obviously it's been kind of up and down and some question there. But like him getting that trust from Caleb Williams and then making that catch is like okay, he should be taken care of from like is he an upset receiver for not getting enough targets? Like that should tide him over for at least a few weeks at a minimum. And the longer Rome Odunze's out, the more they'll keep involving him in more and more of that.
I wrote that down. I wrote DJ 2 touchdowns should be good the rest of the year. We don't no more crying or anything, like no more pouting. You get out there, you got 2 touchdowns, and even when Rome's back, you can still be that guy. If you get open consistently, Caleb will find you. And I wrote that down. It was funny you said that because that was my exact thinking. Once he caught that second touchdown, I'm like, okay, all right, let's go, DJ Moore. Now if you're going to go to the playoffs and compete and hopefully win a game or 2 or more, you need DJ Moore to be one of these guys.
The other guy that can help out with that, and we saw a bad drop from Luther Burden in this game, but some highlight real plays as well. I mean, their connection, I think Caleb with Burden and versus Odunze and Moore, the connection is more there with those guys. They seem to more frequently be on the same page, and there's been missed opportunities this season and probably even in this game for them, but it feels like there's more of a connection between Caleb and Burden. I mean, he has that one play where He jukes out 2 guys. I mean, he's embarrassing people on the field. So outside of the drop and getting a little dinged up and missing, I think, a majority of the second half, I thought Burton was excellent in the first half of this game.
Yeah, he's very clearly the best player on the team with the ball in his hands, at least like after the catch. I mean, sometimes depends on where you put the ball in his hands, I guess. But like that's like this was everything we've been looking for from Luther Burton. Like this was the full picture coming into focus and saying like, yep, okay, here he is catching deep balls downfield. Here he is taking some short underneath and making 4 guys miss to make it 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or whatever it was on that. It was like 2nd or 3rd and 15, and he caught the pass like 3 yards past line of scrimmage and got 12 after the catch, whatever it was. Like that's all everything we've been looking for from him. And I think he continues to be like what I think we kind of hoped DJ Moore would be when they traded for him. But like, still have to see like consistency week to week and season to season that DJ Moore has. But like Burton is fully on track now to be a major player in this offense, especially next year in a bigger role.
Yeah, I mean, Luther had 7 targets, 6 catches, 84 yards. Colson Loveland, 5 targets, 4 catches, 63 yards. So, I mean, you could tell the rookies have kind of jumped that wall of trying to figure things out in the NFL, and they're kind of both taking off together. And that's really exciting because, I mean, Colson Loveland, he's one that doesn't drop the ball. He might be the only one on the offense that doesn't have that trouble right now. But, yeah, Burton is a game changer if you can get the ball in his hands. And I guess the one thing I'm missing from Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams in the offense is just deep plays. Just, I mean, home runs. And Ben got a lot of those in Detroit. And maybe it'll take some time. And we know Caleb can throw it. We know these receivers can go get it. It's just a matter of matching up and getting a couple of them. And like if DJ would have caught that 3rd touchdown on that deep ball that was short and, fans were booing, it wasn't pass interference or anything, but if he gets that kind of feels like it helps the DJ case even more, and that deep ball that you just want to see that connection more from this offense to even spread teams out even more. Because I mean, imagine you get the run, then you have the home run, deep balls, that puts everything together. Then the middle of the field's even more open for Caleb and Burton and DJ Moore and those guys that are so good in that range.
I feel like Caleb only had like one or 2 really bad throws. The one that probably should have been intercepted that went like right through the Browns defender's hands. Besides that, Lauren, I thought Caleb was pretty excellent in this game. Didn't get some help from some drops. Then we mentioned the training staff. Like, how about the equipment guys? Can we get these guys some cleats that are going to keep them on their feet? Like, it doesn't matter if they're in Chicago or they're somewhere else. But like, these guys are slipping everywhere every week. Like, what is going on? It is absurd.
Can we get Big Bill something bigger than a medium? I mean, that guy's jersey doesn't get over his stomach. I mean, Jesus.
Well, that's so no one can grab onto it and pull it. That's intentional. But the cleats thing, he's it was a problem in Green Bay. It's a problem here. It's been a problem everywhere. You can't just blame the Soldier Field turf. That's for sure. But as far as Caleb goes, I agree. And even the one that was in the Browns defender's hands, like when they showed the slow motion replay, it didn't look quite as much like the hit from Myles Garrett. Like it definitely affected his ability to fully step into the throw, but once the ball was out of his hands, like it was still it wasn't like wobbling from the hit. So I think it probably played some factor, but it didn't totally derail it. Like I think that was the only other one that stands out to me as like a real miss of him. Like there was just so much more consistently in rhythm type of throws. I think the initial numbers he had 3 or 4 drops. It was 2 throwaways, and then I can think of a couple plays where guys fell down or there's miscommunication and not in the same way. So I think his initial, PFF has like the adjusted completion percentage where they take out drops and throwaways was just over 80% in this game. When you if you take all of those incompletions that weren't his fault and make them not pass attempts, you don't make them completions, you just remove them from the attempts. He'd be about 80% completion on those kind of throws, which tells you like a little over 80% like accuracy on those throws, which is right where you want them to be.
Yeah, I mean, the drops are definitely a problem. I mean, that ball to Burton was perfect. Komet had a drop. I mentioned Manana guy had 2 drops in 2 screens. So that's 4 that I can remember. And I guess I'd have to go back and look at the Zacchaeus falling down, the interception one. Other than that, I mean, Caleb never really put the ball in harm's way. And we saw the stat, first 1,000 passes he's thrown in the NFL. He's only got 12 interceptions, which is the least of all time. So, I mean, he's clearly good at taking care of the ball. And he doesn't put it in harm's way very, very often. And I thought today he was really good for the Bears.
Yeah. And I think it's so different than last year, where last year there was that emphasis from Eberflus to not turn the ball over. And that was leading to some of the sacks and stuff that we saw in last year happening for Caleb and the Bears. This year, it's totally different. He's taking care of the ball and just making the right decisions for the most part. And I mean, there was the one, I think it was the fourth down they went for where Cole Kmet was wide open. It was a big time miss there. But outside of that one play where Kmet's open in the flat, like he really was hitting the right guys. And we'll see on the rewatch what was missed and what wasn't. But like it didn't feel like there was a lot of reason to complain, honestly, in this game from what we saw from Caleb Williams. Let's talk about the defense. Oh, go ahead, Lauren.
There's not much of reason to complain about anything.
I know. It's strange.
3 false starts and the drop passes are about the only things that like jump out at you as like obvious complaints to be upset about.
All right, 3 interceptions on the day from this defense. Jaylon Johnson gets his first of the season, I believe it was there. CJ Gardner-Johnson with a nice pick. We'll get to all of that and what we saw from the Bears defense next here on the Bears Squad Show.
This episode of the Bears Squad Show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. Plenty of big plays that we saw this Sunday. And that's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. Because you're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And that live betting is the best when the game really starts to shift. A quarterback like Caleb Williams gets hot. Defense like the Bears tightens up, or the momentum flips after one of those big turnovers. And FanDuel lets you jump right into that moment with live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly and player props that update as guys heat up. So you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and so much more. Just keeping you locked in to every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
All right, let's get into what we saw from the defense in this game. We'll start with the turnovers. They've been forcing a lot all season. It hasn't slowed down. It doesn't really matter like what team they play. They find a way to force turnovers. Adam, we'll start with you. Just what you saw from the turnover part of this from the defense, including, I think, a spectacular play from both Jaylon Johnson and CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, and I mean, even the Deshaun Wright pick was a nice ball where he kind of baited him by staying in and then dropping at the very last second and making that pick. And that helps that when he's 6'4", that he has that length to get that. Yeah, I thought, we keep saying it each week. The Bears, they can't keep doing this. They can't keep doing this. Yet they keep doing it, and they find ways, and teams are making throws that allow them to get all these interceptions. It's crazy. What is it? They're up to 29 turnovers.
30
season I hit, or did they get to 30?
Thought I remember hearing them say that on the broadcast.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's just incredible.
And Adam, the Deshaun Wright one was the one he dropped. The third interception was DeMarco Jackson batted pass.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
Deshaun Wright. Right. But that's the thing. Is like they should have had 4, and one of those Deshaun Wright probably a pick 6. Right? I mean, I don't know. I don't remember exactly where. Like if there's a running back by the quarterback who could have maybe chased him down, or where exactly they were on the field. But like that felt so much like the week 1 JJ McCarthy pick 6, where it's just like, boom, gone. No one's coming close to him. He just couldn't hold on to it that time. But yeah, I like that all 4 of those potential would-be interceptions too were like plays that, yeah, Shedeur Sanders had to put it in a position for guys to get, but like CJ Gardner-Johnson had to run under it and catch it over the shoulders. Like that's a go attack the ball, playmaking kind of thing, not a lollipop pass thrown right in your hands, or Jaylon Johnson pulling it from Jerry Jeudy, or DeMarco Jackson. Like, I guess that was probably the easiest one in terms of Shedeur throwing it right at him, but he had to have the wherewithal to tip it up and then still be able to come down with it. Like those are still like playmaking type of interceptions and not lucky bounce or, bad or, like hit as he's thrown, pops up in the air kind of stuff. Like, no, these are guys being in the right position and attacking the ball, like the stuff that is taught and replicable and not just luck.
Yeah. My son called for a Deshaun Wright interception when CJ intercepted. That's why I had that in my head. But yeah, I mean, and a couple of those other throws down the middle of the field that were kind of ducks from Shedeur could have been picked up. I mean, he could have had a lot of interceptions today. And I just think that this Bears team is so good. They're opportunistic, and they don't miss on them most of the time.
And I should also throw in the Shedeur Sanders strip sack that was ruled as forward progress. That could have been yet another turnover. I don't think they otherwise got a fumble in this game. But no, I don't know. Like in a game like this, you can be mad about, okay, should they have called that or not? Like it didn't really matter. Right. People were upset, like, oh, the ref screwed the Bears out of a turnover. It's like they'll be fine. It's okay.
They got plenty.
Yeah.
It was just funny because the one play later in the game where Shedeur got hit and he was being driven backwards, and then he threw and got the ball to Fannin, who picked up a first down. It's like he was stopped more in that play than he was on the fumble play, and yet they, one was stopped, one wasn't, and it was just funny.
I've got my beefs with that in the NFL. I feel like they always, if there's a turnover, they always rule like forward progress. And they stop it. Like we've seen that with the tush push this year with Jalen Hurts, where like there's a strip, but like they're like, oh, it stopped. I'm like, yeah, but you don't stop it when he's just like moving the pile himself. Right. Like I feel like it just like depends on how it plays out there. It's just it's a conspiracy theory, it sounds like. But you mentioned DeMarco Jackson, Lauren. As long as Edmonds is out, he's clearly the number 2 linebacker. He had a great game, a sack, a tackle for loss, a couple pass deflections as well, and I think 7 total tackles on the day. He has been a big bright spot with all these injuries, a guy that has stepped in and played really well for this defense.
Yeah, he's making himself some money right now. Like not nothing too crazy, but like he looks like he belongs as a at least borderline starting caliber linebacker in the NFL. Like he definitely is someone who you want to keep around because he was wearing the green dot for a while out there too. Like, when both these guys were out, like that's a real valuable depth piece and somebody that, Dennis Allen had some familiarity with. So clearly had some good reason to believe bringing him here would be worthwhile. And he's also like a young enough linebacker too, that it wasn't like you're getting a 30-year-old who we kind of know what he is at this point, that no, his best football can still be in front of him, or maybe we're seeing it now, but at least at the time when they signed him, like his best football was still in front of him as he's about to enter really the prime of his career. So yeah, I'm all on board with more DeMarco Jackson. Like that's not to say like I'll cut Tremaine Edmonds and go with DeMarco Jackson as plan A for next season, but like he belongs in this mix and somebody you'd like to keep around on the team.
Yeah, definitely a depth piece, and maybe Sewell can be a guy in there too for depth, hopefully. And maybe they can fight for that third linebacker spot that, isn't on the field a lot of the time, but when they need them in rundowns or early downs, they come on the field and fill out the 4-3. One thing I was going to ask, I didn't pull it up. I don't know if you do, Lauren, the plays for Jaylon Johnson, Stevenson, and Wright, how many plays they each had. If you have the PFF pulled up, the early numbers.
So they only after the game they make it available for a short time and then they go back through.
Okay, they go back through.
I lost it about 5 minutes ago. I did look at the linebacker snaps because I was curious how much like Edwards and DeMarco Jackson played and what the mix there, but I didn't think to look at the
time. I was just curious. I meant to look as well.
Snaps. I know like CJ Garner-Johnson played a ton and they've been doing a lot of like him as this like hybrid pseudo linebacker thing and not playing like even when they go into quote unquote nickel, right? Like they'll still only have like one linebacker on the field and make it more like dime. Like they're still doing some little things like that, but I didn't look at Jaylon in particular, but Edwards played quite a bit in this game.
Now Jaylon gets burned on that deep ball a little bit there, but then he makes up for it on the next play. Just overall, Adam, like your first impression, it's weird because like Shedeur wasn't, I think it was terrible in this game, but he obviously wasn't very good. But like, what'd you see from Jaylon Johnson on first watch? You feel like it was an improvement from last week?
Yeah, I thought he was moving a little better today. And you never know with this cold how guys are going to, be able to stretch out and feel good. Or, sometimes in that cold, you can't get stretched out and you're just not moving well. I thought he was okay today. I thought he looked better than he did last week for sure. And I mean, yeah, he got beat on that deep ball, but that's also Isaiah Bond, who has 4.29, I think 40 at the combine. So that's what he's known for, is speed. That is something that does kind of concern me a little bit moving to next week, where the Packers have a lot of speed and we saw them beat you deep a few times just last game. So I think that's something that Dennis Allen is going to have to prepare for a little bit. I think today he knew with Shedeur, if we give him a couple, it's not going to kill us. We can still put the pressure on the rookie. But now next week with Jordan Love, it's something that you'll have to kind of change up from the previous matchup. So, yeah, I thought Jaylon looked better, but still hope he can continue to get better each week as he gets through the rest of this season.
Yeah, that deep ball in particular, like it had shades of the Packers game, right? Where I don't remember it thoroughly, but I remember that Bond was like he's working vertical and then kind of bent it to the inside, and there was no deep safety there. So I assume then they were in man coverage with no deep safety. Then they were sending a cover zero blitz. Like I don't remember the blitz.
Yeah, I can't either.
Remember what was happening on the back end suggested man coverage, no deep safety, and like that's where Jordan Love was burning him a bunch last week. And of course, against Shedeur, I'm totally fine with it because he's not going to burn you the way Jordan Love did. But now it is back-to-back weeks of like your cornerbacks haven't necessarily been able to hold up against really, really fast receivers one-on-one deep, especially working middle of the field without safety help. So hopefully like back-to-back weeks of seeing that is saying, hey, I can't just go man coverage blitz with no safety help against at least some of these specifically speedy receivers, knowing that Jaylon Johnson's probably not running at 100%. And you don't have a ton of like, Nahshon Wright's not the fastest speed guy, and even CJ Gardner-Johnson got blown by Christian Watson. So you have to just kind of know your physical limitations there and not put those guys in, leave them hung out to dry with no help.
Yeah, I definitely remember the play being they blitzed and they almost got to Shedeur. He got it off as he was basically being hit. So I know they did send a blitz. Like you said, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know they did hit him on the throw.
We mentioned the defensive line in the first segment there. I mean, this is a beat up Browns offensive line. They got more hurt during the game, but they were in Shedeur's face. We saw some creative blitzes from Dennis Allen. So even though it might not be sustainable compared to when you raise the level of competition, I do feel like at least they were good against the Browns, right, Lauren? At least they were good.
Yeah, it's like checking the box, right? If they were bad today, then it's like, oh my God, this is a disaster. So they needed to like at least prove that they can be good against bad teams, but if they're struggling against this backup offensive line, then this is going to be a real problem there. But no, I mean, the same kind of thing like with the Joe Tryon, quote unquote revenge game, breakout game. He had a couple of nice sacks and a good run stop. Like at first, when I was thinking about it, I was like, is it just like extra motivation against Cleveland, and like, can you just get him to be that motivated every week? But then I thought about it more, and it's like, no, he knows exactly what this offense is doing on the other side. He knows the guys he's rushing against every snap. Like, oh, that's probably why he's able to be a little bit more effective in this game, because he's got the mental advantage that he won't have against any other opponent.
Yeah, I thought Javon Dexter, just on first watch, looked pretty good today. He was getting some pressure in there from the inside. Didn't notice much of Sweat. I mean, a couple times he was chasing Shedeur, kind of after the play broke down, but didn't see him winning a lot early, it felt like. So some good, some felt like not very good, but overall, Dennis Allen had the defense putting pressure on Shedeur any way he saw fit at the time.
Yep. So the Bears, they Lauren said it, they checked the boxes on defense. They did what they were supposed to do in this game, forced 3 turnovers. They don't let them score a touchdown in this one. So the Bears dominate Cleveland really from start to finish in this one. We'll get to some questionable decisions here after our short break and just walk through those and also highlight some of the big special teams plays that we also saw in this game. We'll get to that next year on the Bears Squad Show. All right, let's start with these 2 decisions from Ben Johnson and I guess operations of it as well. Let's start with the end of the first half, Lauren. Just your thoughts on how they handled it and everything that kind of went wrong, including Caleb getting hobbled and a brief second of panic from all of Bears Twitter of when we were getting the Case Keenums warming up on the sidelines before Caleb Williams came out of the tunnel.
Yeah, I tend to, in an end of the half situation like that, like it's very easy to be like, oh, well, Caleb got hurt on that play, so you shouldn't have done that. But like, I don't think that particular play was like more risky or more injury, that more of a risk of injury than any other potential play there. Like, I get that it probably didn't have a very high success outcome. So you don't want to, if it's got a low chance of being succeed and the same amount of risk as any other play, then maybe you don't want to do it. But like, I don't know, like if he throws a Hail Mary there instead of the hook and ladder and gets twisted up the same way, like, or is it, like, is some of it the fact that they threw short and we're trying to do the razzle dazzle and people kind of get mad at like, well, that's never going to work, but at least the Hail Mary, you feel like you have a chance. Like, I don't mind it all that much. Like, they were trying to take their shots before that. They realized they get into this, they're running out of time and they just got to run it down to 3 seconds and try your play. Like, I obviously, like, it would be harder to swallow if the injury were more serious, but like injuries can kind of happen at any time. And if it had happened on any of the throws, it wouldn't, no one would be talking about any questioning of why they were letting Caleb throw. So let him throw.
Yeah. To me, I don't have a problem with the play call on the fourth down or whatever it was there at the end. It was, you get to the fourth down. There's 18 seconds left on the clock. You're at the Cleveland 42. You have 2 timeouts. I mean, to me, take the timeout. If you're throwing the ball on fourth down, first of all, you're not worried about Shedeur getting points. I mean, if they get a field goal, whatever, in my opinion, I think you take the timeout at 18 seconds. It's 4th and 4. You're going to throw the ball anyways. So why not try and pick up 10 yards and then you're in field goal range because you still had a second timeout. So it's not like you got to throw to the sidelines or you got to hurry the field goal unit back on. I just think Ben kind of gave up the points there when I don't really feel like you needed to. I mean, you're throwing the ball anyways. So the injury part to me doesn't, I wasn't concerned about that at all. I mean, yeah, of course I want him to be healthy, but the play didn't bother me. It was the fact that he just let the 15 seconds run off the clock when you're 10 yards from being in field goal range. Yeah, I know Santos had missed, but get more points. Let's go. This NFL, you got to score points. And I don't want to see this next week against Green Bay in the same situation. And he does the same thing. You got to be going for points when you can in the NFL. And it was sitting there in front of him, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's my issue with it too, is I feel like you got to try to get closer. And maybe that's a lack of faith in the day for Cairo, to not be able to get into field goal range. Because was that extra point blocked? The one that was barely went over the crossbar earlier in the game, or it was just a low line drive kick. I couldn't tell in the moment, and if it was someone got a hand on it, but maybe they were just that confident. I mean, they could not stop talking on the broadcast about how the weather takes 7 yards off of Cairo's ability to kick a field goal there. So that's more of a cold weather concern going forward. Is just well, if you're losing 7 yards, that end of the game situation, that's where I'm yeah, okay, maybe against the Packers you punt it because it's the Packers and it's Jordan Love. But in this situation, I'm with Adam, where it's call the timeout right away. Just try to get a play, because worst case scenario is they throw a Hail Mary and they score a touchdown, but you're still going to crush the Browns in this game. I'm not concerned at all. So that was, to me, is the only thing I didn't like. Lauren, you got something else there?
Yeah, I mean, it does bring back up the Cairo Santos conversation of
yes,
there's nothing they can do now, but they have to do something this offseason. There's just when you're his whole thing is that he's supposed to he knows how to kick at Soldier Field, right? And he's got the experience of knowing how to feel out the wind, I guess, but then doesn't play the wind correctly on the 35-yarder and hits the upright. It wasn't like it was super gusty at that time.
Right, it wasn't. Those flags were not moving when that ball went by them.
So then there's no real redeeming quality of you got to hold on to him because he's automatic from inside 40 yards. Not anymore. Or you got to hold on to him because he knows how to kick at Soldier Field. Well, not anymore. So now the only reason you're holding on to him now is because you literally can't do any better at this moment. So you're stuck with the one you brought. But off-season wise, that's going to change. It's gotta.
Yeah, we saw the Browns kicker make a 50-yarder and no problem right down the middle. So, I mean, it's just, that's definitely an off-season move that has to be coming.
As long as it's not a top 100 draft pick.
Yes.
Or top 125 or whatever.
Deal.
Torrey had a couple of today that were obviously the one that I'm sure we might want to talk about now, the downing it inside, but it was one where they were backed up in their own end zone and it barely rolled to 40 yards. And it's just dude, the one thing you got to be able to do is powerful backed up leg punts.
And that's what he's known for. The leg power is what he was known for.
How, and I people were asking me on Twitter, what can you explain what's gone wrong with Torrey Taylor? Why didn't it translate from Iowa? Why is he not as good? And I don't have an answer. I really don't.
No, and I guess this doesn't really matter because I know kickers don't play a lot. The other thing about Cairo is he just looked colder than everyone else on the sidelines.
Oh, he looked. They showed a close up as he was getting ready to do a kickoff after one of the touchdowns. He just looked miserable.
Yeah, he looked like he was not a fan of bear weather.
The shiesty thing he had on was all the way over, almost over an eye. He was just he looked disheveled, cold, he did not want to be there.
Do you think he's the smallest player on the team? I think he's listed at 173 pounds. He's got to be the smallest on the team.
Yeah, and I think that might be generous, to be honest, the 173.
5'8", 173. He might be 5'6", 150 at this point.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. I mean, that was it Blackwell, right? Who downed it there? Great play. Very funny. The like reaching for the ball and realizing he can't touch it, so he moves his hand back. Gonna be honest, guys, didn't realize that rule even. Like as they were explaining, I was like, oh, I didn't realize like if you go into the end zone, you can't touch it. Totally forgot in the moment. But that was one of the, and we saw a lot of good special teams plays that we'll talk about here now. But that one was a highlight play that helped the Bears out there for sure, Lauren.
Yeah, and that was a good Tory Taylor punt to like drop it in there, and they have some control over the bounce, not a ton. They kind of debate how much control. It depends on how you angle the ball and stuff. But like that was a good Tory Taylor punt. But I didn't, and of course with punters, you like to be in the position where they're not punting very much, so that it's not a huge sample size. They had 4 punts in this game. I remember that one being great. I remember the one backed up being not so great, and then the 2 in the middle I don't remember positively or negatively being kind of neutral. So like. I don't know if that balance out as a fine game for Tory Taylor. Sure. I mean, it's nice that, the coverage unit is smart enough to get down there. And like they had one where the Browns return man didn't fair catch it. And so they waited for him to catch it and then they laid him out. And I was like, all right, like they're not screwing up, the rest of the way. I mean, there were penalties and holdings and stuff earlier in the season on the punt team, but like they seem to be improving and not allowing big returns. But some of that might just be, this is also the Browns.
Yeah. And I mean, then you look at the kick return unit. The kick return unit was really good today with Duvernay. That early one that got him good field positioning. He had another decent one past the 40. And then their kick coverage was also really, really good today. So, I mean, special teams was pretty good outside the missed field goal and the Tory Taylor punt that barely went 40 yards out of the end zone. So, I mean, other than that, I thought they were really good today. And Duvernay and Blackwell, if they can both coexist as good kick returners and a punt returner, I mean, that can give you something come playoff time.
Yeah, he had a good punt return. Duvernay did as well in this game. Like, and that's something that's important because like it was a struggle for feels like a majority of the season where it was the other team was always getting great returns and the Bears were not. And this is the one where yes, it's the Browns, but I feel like I don't really count special teams towards that. Not that I'm like locked in on how the Browns special teams unit is doing, but you played the Raiders earlier this season, and that's a really bad football team, and they destroyed you on special teams, both on their coverage and on their return. So that to me is a positive step in the right direction because it did feel like a flaw, and now the flaws have moved back to Santos and to Tory Taylor. But overall, like I think it's a solid day for special teams, and at least in the return game on both sides of it was much improved. The other one there is that we didn't get to yet was the 4th down, going for it there. I believe that's the one where Cole Kmet's open in the flat. Caleb misses him at the start of the second half. Adam, you mentioned it earlier, so we'll go back to you here, but you're confident you're going to crush the Browns. So you're okay with going for it in that situation. But what if, let's just say for a hypothetical, like what about that situation? You're up 14-0 against the Packers. You going for it there, or you think that's a punt situation?
No, I think it was 4th and 4 or 4th and 3. I'd have to look.
It was the play where he sacked. He stepped up. Garrett had the pressure, and then Alex Wright finished it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So, I mean, I remember seeing Cole Kmet wide open on the right flat. Probably in that situation, I would probably punt it and make the Packers go full field. But it also depends on how the game's going. If you feel like your offense is moving the ball well, and getting, good chunk plays against the Packers, and you think, okay, we can pick up 3 yards or 2 yards or 4 yards, whatever it is in that moment. I think I would be okay with Ben Johnson going for it, but it all depends on the flow of the game. Even at 14-0, it's how'd you get there? It could be a pick six. It could be they fumbled inside the red zone. You picked it up and you were able to go 3 plays and get a touchdown. So, I mean, I guess it just depends on how the offense is flowing through the game in that situation. But yeah, today I had no problem with it, with the Browns being, as putrid as they had looked on offense. You just thought, okay, yeah, maybe they get a field goal, but just go for it and try and keep the drive going.
And it did set up their field goal on the next drive. But like, again, something you could absolutely afford in this game. I mean, you were just across midfield. It looks like the 46-yard line. Okay. So you're in this kind of no man's land where you do feel like a little bit of a quitter or whatever, or you're surrendering by punting from across midfield. But you had the good down inside the 5-yard line punt earlier in the game. So I'm with you on that one, Adam, where it's like against Green Bay, it depends on like how my defense is doing, how my offense is doing, how these points have kind of come across. But against Cleveland, like, why not? Might as well. Like, if anything, it was weird because that drive, it was the first drive of the third quarter. So after Caleb had been hurt, so we're not sure exactly how he's doing. And they ran all 3 plays for second, third down. They got stuffed on third down, but then it's 4th and 3. And I would have been curious to either like hand the ball off again or like, I don't know, move the pocket a little bit or just something a little bit easier for Caleb there than kind of it was standard stop back. I don't think there was even play action on that play. And then, pressure is pressure, and you can't count for that ahead of time. But just if we're nitpicking a weird sequence there, like there was like a swift run for 4, swift run for 3, then stuff like I wouldn't be tempted to, if you have a specific run play on your sheet that you really like, you say this one's our bread and butter or whatever, and we think we can get it. Or Ben's really good on those 4th and 3 plays, and that felt more like a standard down and distance type of play as opposed to like a gotta have it first down kind of play.
The only other thing for me from this game that I'm looking forward to seeing in the rewatch, as I'm like a feeling of it is, I feel like Monungai, like all of his runs were coming from shotgun in this game. Like I want to see what it looks like again, but it felt like he kept getting stuffed in the backfield, didn't really get his full momentum going in this game. So that's something I want to watch for on the rewatch. And the Pro Football Focus, the initial grades came out. DeMarco Jackson was the highest graded player for the Chicago Bears in this game. The top 3 were him, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, and CJ Gardner-Johnson were the 3 highest graded players for the Bears today.
You could have gave me 3 names, and I mean, just imagine telling us that, after week 1, that those 3 guys were going to be your highest graded names in week 14 against the Browns. Oh, but you're 10-4.
Yeah.
What a weird situation that is.
And I don't believe with the DeMarco Jackson time, and none of those 3 players were on the active roster in week 1. I think Jack that's the season on the practice squad.
Yeah.
A couple of games before he got formally called. I could be wrong about that, but certainly we know CJ Gardner-Johnson and Joe Tryon were nowhere near this team. But yeah, it shows you how weird this season has been in just about every single way, but also some real credit belongs to the coaching staff there for making it work with these guys that we're not supposed to be here and not supposed to be playing.
Yeah, it's a weird season. You said it. The Bears have 10 wins and the Chiefs have been eliminated from the playoffs. Never thought I'd say that this season. What a weird season it's been in the NFL. All right. That will do it for this episode of the Bears Squad Show. We'll be back with you with our Tuesday midweek show, and then we'll be back with you again, myself, Lauren, and Adam, on Saturday night after the Bears take on the Green Bay Packers, fighting for the NFC North. Again, Ben Johnson, 3rd coach all-time in Bears history to have 10 wins in his first season as the head coach. George Halas and Matt Nagy. He joins that company. What company to be a part of for Ben Johnson. For Lauren and Adam, I am Joe George. We'll talk to you guys on Tuesday night and on Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Peace.